Have you ever stayed awake at night, staring at the ceiling, wondering if you are really enough? I'm not just talking about your daily performance or your work, but something much more personal, something many men over 50 keep silent about, their sexuality and self-confidence. In jokes among friends, in TV shows, in the memes that circulate endlessly on social media, there is always a constant whisper, "Am I enough?" That question may seem small, but it carries enormous weight on your self-esteem, your relationship, and how you feel about yourself every day. Science tells us something surprising. Size is not what matters most for most women. What truly affects sexual satisfaction is comfort, emotional connection, and the confidence you project. Biologically, the female sexual response is activated more by closeness, security, and rhythm than by extreme measurements. Think of it like a key that doesn't open with brute force, but with precision. Every gesture, every attention, and every word matters more than any number on a ruler. The truth is that most men are already within the average range, even if many don't know it and live worried. For example, Daniel, a 56-year-old man, spent hours comparing himself to actors in movies and exaggerated stories. Every intimate encounter became a silent test of his worth, until he decided to focus on communication with his partner and enjoying every moment. His confidence grew, and with it, the quality of his relationship. Today, we're going to do something different. We are going to separate myths from reality, exploring the science behind what really matters, understanding the habits that affect your confidence, and discovering how you can reconnect with your sexuality without stress or comparisons. Even small daily changes, like paying attention to your physical and emotional well-being, can transform intimacy into something rewarding and fulfilling, making every moment of connection much deeper and more satisfying. The myth is simple and has been repeated for decades. The bigger, the better. We hear it in movies, in jokes among friends, in careless comments that seem insignificant, but stick in our minds. Social media has amplified this message to an almost obsessive level. Comparisons, exaggerations, invented stories, and impossible expectations. All of this creates a distorted image of reality, making many men feel inadequate for no reason. But when we look at scientific evidence, the story changes completely. Laboratory studies, private surveys, and clinical analyses show that when women can express their preferences without social pressure, most prefer sizes within the average range. They're not looking for impossible extremes or proportions that only exist in adult movies. The reason is very simple. The female body is designed to prioritize comfort, rhythm, and connection. An exaggerated size can cause discomfort, tension in the pelvic muscles, and even pain during intimacy. Imagine sexuality as a dance. The winner is not the one who makes the biggest moves, but the one who knows how to feel the rhythm, sense their partner, adapt to their pace, read subtle cues, and enjoy the moment. Intimate connection is not a competition of size, but an exchange of sensations, glances, breaths, and trust. Let's take an example. Michael, 62 years old, always thought his value as a man depended on how much he measured. For years, he avoided intimacy, afraid of being judged. One day, his partner said something that changed his life. "I'm not with you because of inches. I'm with you because of how you make me feel safe, seen, and desired." That day, Michael understood what science has confirmed for a long time. A man's greatness is not measured by his anatomy, but by his ability to create closeness, pleasure, and calm. That's why, before letting ourselves be carried away by myths created to sell, impress, or generate insecurity, it's essential to remember this. Nature has already done its work. Most men are within the range that offers comfort, pleasure, and satisfaction. The rest, the emotional connection, mutual care, the way you touch, listen, and accompany, is what truly transforms an experience into something unforgettable. Now, before continuing, I would love to know something to connect with our community. Which city or country are you watching from? Write it in the comments. I love getting to know people who really care about their health, and this allows me to create more useful and relevant content for you and your region. Let's get to the point. Science, when we observe it without filters or prejudices, offers a completely different view from what jokes or movies show. Through studies conducted at universities, clinical surveys, and analyses of sexual preferences, it has been proven that most women choose average sizes when they can respond privately, without fear of being judged or influenced by social expectations. This reveals something profound. Authentic decisions are made from comfort and well-being, not cultural pressure. Why does this happen? Because human pleasure is not based on extremes, but on balance. The female body has a delicate internal structure, the muscles of the pelvic floor, the sensitive nerves surrounding the vulva and vagina, and the elastic tissue that naturally adapts to intimate contact. When size is excessive, the body reacts with tension, and tension is the opposite of pleasure. On the other hand, an average size allows relaxation, fluidity, and connection, which are the foundation of a satisfying, intimate experience. Imagine intimacy as a bridge connecting two people. If one side pushes too hard, without attending to the rhythm of the other, the bridge breaks. But when both meet in the middle, with calm and communication, the structure becomes solid, safe, and warm. That is real intimacy, a space where trust, shared breathing, and conscious touch weigh more than any number. And here comes one of the most reassuring truths. The vast majority of men are already within the preferred range. Studies show that almost 90% of men have measurements that allow a comfortable and pleasurable connection. However, many carry a silent insecurity they never express, a doubt that arises not from reality, but from unrealistic comparisons that should never have become a reference. Let's think about Eric, 58 years old. For years, he avoided asking what his partner really needed because he feared criticism. One day, during an honest conversation, she said, "What I like most is when we are calm, when you hug me and we breathe together." Eric then understood that pleasure is not built from size, but from presence. So, if you have ever doubted yourself, remember this. Intimacy is not about measuring anything. It is about feeling, accompanying, and truly being there. One of the most common mistakes men over 50 make is blindly believing the myths spread by society and the media. From movies to jokes among friends, to exaggerated stories on social media, we have been taught that size is the ultimate indicator of masculinity and performance. However, scientific reality shows something different. Myths do not reflect how the human body actually works or how women perceive pleasure. Biologically, the average penis in erection measures between 12 and 15 centimeters in length and 11 to 12.5 centimeters in circumference. Clinical studies and preference analyses show that most women choose sizes within this range when they can decide privately, without social pressure or the need to impress. This means that the vast majority of men are already perfectly within the ideal range for comfort and satisfaction. Emotionally, however, comparing your body to unrealistic images generates anxiety, guilt, and frustration. It's like trying to run a marathon in shoes that are too big. You will never feel comfortable, and each step increases insecurity. Thomas, 60 years old, constantly felt inferior because he believed his size was not enough. He avoided approaching his partner freely and experienced every intimate encounter with tension. Only when he started learning about average measurements and talking openly with his partner did he begin to experience real confidence and pleasure. Practically, to break this pattern, it is essential to avoid constant comparisons with movies, exaggerated stories, or social media. Instead, focus on the real experience, how your partner responds to your gestures, your attention, and your communication. Honest conversations, asking about comfort, and exploring together what works transforms any intimate encounter into a pleasurable experience free from fear. Additionally, an important psychological tip: the perception of inadequacy is often more mental than physical. Cultivating inner security, self-respect, and acceptance of your body as it is has a direct impact on your ability to generate pleasure and connection. Every thoughtful gesture, every caring word, and every conscious pause during intimacy weighs more than any measurement. Another common mistake is ignoring the importance of comfort and fit during intimacy. Many men think that sexual satisfaction depends solely on size, but biology and clinical experience teach us something very different. pleasure is closely linked to the physical and emotional comfort of the partner. The female body is designed to adapt and enjoy, but there are natural limits. Too much thickness or length can create tension, discomfort, and even pain. This not only affects her pleasure, but also his confidence, creating a difficult-to-break cycle of anxiety. Biologically, the vagina is a highly flexible and sensitive organ, with nerve endings concentrated in certain areas that respond to touch, moderate pressure, and rhythm. When contact is forced excessively, the body generates micromuscle tensions and rejection reflexes, which are perceived as discomfort or pain. That is why, more than the exact measurement, what matters is how each movement moves, adjusts, and communicates. Imagine intimacy as a dance between two people. It is not about taking giant steps, but about feeling the music together, adapting to the other's rhythm, and enjoying the synchronized movement. Moving away from this harmony creates tension and reduces pleasure, while attention to rhythm, breathing, and posture enhances connection and mutual enjoyment. Let's take a realistic example. Joseph, 59 years old, always tried to impose certain movements thinking that would please his partner. She started feeling discomfort, and he increased his anxiety. After an honest conversation and a few small adjustments in position and rhythm, they both discovered that they could enjoy more without needing to strain or compare themselves to unrealistic standards. Intimacy stopped being a test and became a shared space of pleasure. Practical advice: communication and adjustment create comfort. Before worrying about measurements or complex techniques, ask your partner what feels good. Observe her reactions, listen to her words, and adjust your movements accordingly. Even small variations in angle, rhythm, or pressure can multiply pleasure. And remember, confidence and patience always generate more satisfaction than any physical measurement. Finally, a small psychological tip: focusing on comfort and adjustment frees the mind from comparisons and perfectionism. This allows you to enjoy the experience fully, creating memorable moments that no size myth could ever replace. A third common mistake is assuming that all women want the same thing. Many men fall into the trap of thinking that there is a single standard of female pleasure, as if all women shared identical tastes and preferences. The truth is much more complex and, at the same time, liberating. Every woman is different, and satisfaction depends more on emotional connection and communication than on a number in centimeters. From a biological point of view, variations are natural. Some women may have a slight preference for slightly longer length, while others prioritize rhythm, pressure, and emotional intimacy. Clinical studies show that even within anatomical preferences, the range of comfort and pleasure is within average measurements, far from the extremes often shown in media and social networks. This means that most men are already within the parameters that allow a pleasurable and safe experience for their partner. Imagine intimacy as a blank canvas. There are no universal colors or required brush strokes. Each couple paints their own work, adapting strokes and shades to their feelings and emotions. Fernando, 61 years old, always worried that he had to meet a general standard. Over time, he discovered that his partner valued patience, attention to her signals, and sincere communication more than any physical measurement. That understanding transformed his experience. Intimacy stopped being a source of anxiety and became a space of deep connection. Practically, this means ask, observe, and adapt. Instead of assuming, explore what gives pleasure and how she feels comfortable. Small changes in posture, shared breathing, or the duration of contact can generate more satisfaction than any physical adjustment. Additionally, focusing on her well-being and your presence strengthens mutual trust, creating a positive cycle that feeds itself. From an emotional and psychological perspective, accepting that every woman is different frees you from constant fear of judgment and comparison. Security is built through empathy, attention, and the willingness to learn together. Every conscious gesture and every word of care multiplies pleasure and strengthens the relationship, demonstrating that the true measure of a man is in his capacity for connection, not his anatomy. Another key mistake that many men over 50 make is neglecting overall health. thinking that intimacy and sexual performance depend solely on size or technique. Scientific reality is clear. The quality of an erection and sexual energy depend far more on blood flow, hormonal balance, and lifestyle habits than on any physical measurement. Dehydration, smoking, lack of sleep, and absence of physical activity directly affect circulation, testosterone production, and stamina during intimacy. Biologically, the male body works like an engine. It needs proper fuel, maintenance, and rest. Without good circulation, muscles and organs do not receive enough oxygen. Without sleep and rest, key hormones like testosterone become imbalanced, and without exercise, energy decreases, affecting both confidence and sexual performance. Even chronic stress raises cortisol levels, reducing desire and physical responsiveness. Imagine this as a garden. If you do not water the plants, it does not matter how good the seeds are, they will not grow healthy or produce flowers. In the same way, taking care of your body and mind is essential to flourish in intimacy. Alexander, 57, used to feel constant fatigue and lack of motivation. By improving his hydration, sleeping better, and taking daily walks, he not only increased his physical energy, but also significantly grew his confidence in intimacy. Practically, this translates into simple but powerful habits that can significantly improve both health and intimacy. Maintaining proper hydration helps improve circulation and increases vitality. Regular exercise, even just walks, stretching, or light workouts, strengthens the heart and muscles involved in erection. Restful sleep, between 7 and 8 hours, balances hormones and replenishes energy. Additionally, controlling stress through breathing techniques, meditation, or enjoyable activities lowers cortisol and improves sexual response. Finally, avoiding harmful habits such as smoking, excessive alcohol, or unhealthy diets directly protects sexual function and contributes to overall well-being. From a psychological perspective, investing in health creates a virtuous cycle. Feeling energetic and vital increases attraction, confidence, and willingness to experience intimacy without fear or anxiety. When your body functions well, your mind and presence also function, and this has a deeper impact on intimacy than any physical measurement. Another common and very damaging mistake is allowing insecurity to dominate intimacy. Many men enter sexual moments with a mind full of doubts. Am I enough? Will she see me as I want? Am I meeting her expectations? This anxiety activates the body's stress system, raising cortisol levels and reducing testosterone and blood flow, resulting in softer erections, less pleasure, and frustration for both him and his partner. Biologically, the brain and body are deeply connected during intimacy. When the mind is worried or comparing, the body reacts. Tense nerves, rapid breathing, and release of stress hormones interfere with arousal and sexual response. It is like trying to play a musical instrument with shaky hands. Even if you have the technique, tension ruins the harmony. Emotionally, insecurity is noticeable. Women are highly sensitive to signs of anxiety and tension. Even without words, they feel when their partner is worried about size or performance instead of focusing on connection. This disrupts the moment and decreases mutual satisfaction. Conversely, a man who approaches intimacy with presence, patience, and full attention generates real security and pleasure. A realistic example, Richard, 63, constantly felt anxious about his performance. Every encounter became a silent test. After learning to breathe deeply before intimate moments, focus on his partner, and replace thoughts of comparison with affirmations of confidence, the experience transformed. Anxiety decreased, communication improved, and pleasure multiplied. To replace insecurity with confidence, it is helpful to incorporate small rituals of presence before intimacy, taking a few seconds to breathe deeply and focus on your partner. Instead of constantly comparing, it is better to replace that mindset with curiosity, exploring what your partner likes and how she feels comfortable during the encounter. Additionally, it is important to affirm your own value, reminding yourself that you are already within the average range and that true satisfaction does not depend on a number, but on the attention, connection, and presence you bring to the relationship. Psychologically, learning to focus on the moment and emotional connection transforms intimacy from a scenario of judgment into a space of enjoyment and confidence. Every conscious gesture, every word, and every thoughtful pause reinforce security, showing that being enough does not depend on centimeters, but on how you connect and present yourself. To close this circle of confidence and sexual well-being, it is essential to incorporate daily habits that reinforce security and connection with your partner. Often, men focus their energy on comparing, measuring, or meeting unrealistic standards, when in reality, small everyday changes can multiply satisfaction and pleasure without drastic interventions. Biologically, the body responds positively to consistency in health and vitality. Maintaining good circulation, getting enough sleep, staying hydrated, and balancing hormones generates energy, stamina, and firmness in erections. But beyond the physical, the mind also needs training, cultivating positive thoughts, confidence, and active presence during intimacy reinforces security and reduces anxiety. Imagine this as preparing fertile ground. It is not enough to have good quality seeds, the body, but you must water them, nourish them, and protect them from adverse conditions, mind, and emotions. Daniel, 59, implemented simple changes: daily walks, sleeping at least 7 hours, drinking enough water, and dedicating 5 minutes before intimacy to breathe and connect with his partner. Within a few weeks, he noticed a significant increase in confidence, energy, and ability to fully enjoy encounters. To maintain daily habits that reinforce confidence and intimacy, it is important to avoid the comparison trap. Stop following social media accounts that generate insecurity and focus on your personal progress. It is also helpful to know the real averages, remembering that the male average size falls within comfortable and pleasurable parameters, so there is no need to change anything. Instead of focusing on measurements, it is far more effective to invest in skills like communication, foreplay, confidence, and closeness, as these aspects are much more valued. At the same time, taking care of your physical health is essential. Circulation, sleep, hydration, and hormonal balance have a greater impact than any extra centimeter. Finally, incorporating confidence rituals before intimacy, breathing deeply, focusing on your partner, and mentally reminding yourself that you are enough strengthens both personal security and the connection during the encounter. From a psychological perspective, these daily habits create a virtuous cycle. Feeling healthier and more vital boosts self-esteem, which in turn enhances confidence during intimacy and strengthens the bond with your partner. Every small gesture, from a mindful hug to a caring word, builds security and strengthens the relationship, showing that the true measure of a man is not in his anatomy, but in his presence, attention, and capacity to love. Ultimately, it is essential to remember that sexual confidence and satisfaction do not depend on chasing extremes or following myths, but on taking care of yourself, knowing yourself, and connecting authentically with your partner. Science and clinical experience confirm this. Most men are already within the average range that provides comfort and pleasure, and what truly makes a difference is presence, attention, and mutual respect. Think of this like sailing a boat. It doesn't matter if the rudder is larger or smaller. What determines the course and safety is how you manage the sails, adjust them to the wind, and navigate calmly. In the same way, your intimacy and confidence depend on your attitude, energy, and emotional connection, not a number in centimeters. Let's take one final example. Raul, 64, lived for decades with the fear of not being enough. Every intimate encounter was filled with anxiety. Over time, he decided to focus on his daily well-being, take care of his body, sleep well, stay physically active, and, above all, communicate his emotions with his partner. What once seemed like an impossible challenge transformed into moments of full intimacy, fun, and closeness. His relationship flourished, and his self-esteem reached levels he had never imagined. Small daily reminders can make a big difference in confidence and intimacy. It is important to celebrate your body as it is, remembering that it is already within the natural ranges that produce pleasure. It is also wise to prioritize emotional connection over worrying about measurements, focusing on how to create closeness and enjoyment with your partner. Practicing physical and mental health habits that boost your energy and vitality enhances both confidence and stamina during intimacy. Finally, using presence and mindful attention in every encounter becomes one of the best tools for seduction and enjoyment, showing that true satisfaction comes from your attitude and connection, not a number. Men over 50, it's time to break free from comparison and embrace reality. Age is not the end of vitality, but an opportunity to reach your most confident and satisfying years. Authentic intimacy is not measured in centimeters, but in closeness, respect, patience, and love. By incorporating these principles into your daily life, you will discover that you are already enough, that you can generate deep pleasure, and that true greatness lies in how you connect with your partner and with yourself. Remember, confidence cannot be bought or measured. It is built every day through habits, presence, and self-love. True sexual and emotional satisfaction begins when you choose to value yourself as you are and fully enjoy the moment.